Hello everyone. I thought I would remake this week's movie because we have so many changes that I made before class after reading your assignments. So just to kind of go through what the expectations are for the next week, I will just kind of quickly go through and remind you of what we went through last night. So we had the warm-up where we talked about mental health issues. We talked about the discussion pages and LGBT, depression, suicide, mental health. We talked about socioeconomic status and how it affects serving all students. We talked about racial, ethnic, and cultural diversity. We talked about linguistic diversity as well, and how all of these play into some of the struggles that we have as teachers in meeting the needs of our students. We also talked about the 13 categories of the disability. Now, for here, and I'm going to switch back over to Blackboard, you can see that I created this this place where you can turn in your handout. Now, as just kind of a guide, I have the Nietzsche categories of disabilities under IDEA, which is a really helpful handout, just kind of on all the different disabilities, and then it gives you just a really brief definition. That'll basically be the cover to our disabilities handbook. And then each one of you was given a different disability, so you can find your name here and figure out which one you are supposed to be working on. And basically you're going to go through and you're going to use the Nietzsche handout just to kind of give you a basic idea, and then the Friend and Bursick textbook. And I recommend going to the index and then reading the sections about your disability. Then you're going to describe your disability and how it manifests in students, and then describe what teachers can do to support the students with this disability. I'd like you to include some sort of chart or visual I put for to support for supporting your students, and you can cut and paste it, and you can take it off the internet too if you don't find a good one in the book, or if you want to just even Google supports around that. So for example, there's a lot of really great advocacy for autism spectrum disorder websites that you can take a look at. Also, some disabilities have some sort of assistive technology and or other supports that are mentioned in the textbook. Not all disabilities have these types of supports, so you can take a look there and see if there's something that would be useful to mention as well. I showed you two examples. One was the visual impairment, and I went through, this is describing the visual impairment, what it looks like. Whoops. And then I went through and possible supports that a teacher could give depending on what the student needs, and then the assistive technology piece right here, and I took this right out of your book. The other one that I did for you is the traumatic brain injury, also called acquired brain injury, what it's caused by, what it means, how it manifests, what the experience that families can have, because for this disability, families sometimes struggle very much, and so we need to be aware of that as teachers and educators. Then we've got the possible academic supports, and then I just cut and pasted this right from your textbook, and it goes through the different areas of concern and possible strategies that you can use when working with students with traumatic brain injury. So you can see that it's just all the essential information on a 2-pager. So that's what I'm looking for. If you have any questions, please call, text, or email me, and I will help you figure out the answer. And just to keep everything formatted, because we're going to put this together in a book, then I'm going to copy for each one of you. If you can keep it at Times New Roman 12-point font and single-spaced, then that will reduce the amount of copy and stuff. All right, let's go back to the PowerPoint. So we also talked about the site inclusivity assessment. This was what you all did in class, and then we talked about all the different answers, and I was really trying to highlight how every site sees things differently, and some sites are very positive about what they're doing, other sites are very critical about what they're doing, but that we can learn from all these different sites. And I think the more reflective that we can be about where we're working, then the better we can serve all students. And we can collaborate more, we can increase the climate of respect and integrity within our schools. So The next thing that we worked on was just the general education's responsibility, and that you do have a responsibility to serve all your students, including those with IEPs. And so these are all the ways that you're expected to serve your students with IEPs and support the faculty, so the special ed teachers. I have this visual that I just took out of your book and highlighted, and it's a decision-making process. So the first part of the decision-making process is the intervention phase. So that means you've found a student with some sort of problem that could possibly be a disability, but it just might be something else. You create a team, an intervention assessment team, or sometimes they're called student support teams, and you discuss this, and you might decide that there's nothing more you need to do, or the team might come up with some ideas on how to support the students, and possibly recommend some interventions. Assuming that the interventions work, then you might not need any further action. If they don't work, then you might actually have to refer, the team might have to take those results and make a referral for a bigger assessment. And so then that brings us into the initial decision-making phase. So this is where the school representative contacts the parents at this point and says, okay, we need to talk to you about your student's success, your child's success. If you don't get permission to do that, then you don't do anything else. If you do get permission, then we might do a full assessment in all the areas of concern. So it could be behavioral, it could be academic, and then you review the assessment results, and then if there's no disability found, you don't worry about anything. If you do find a disability, then if there's no negative effect of that disability, then you don't really worry about it. But if the disability does negatively affect the learning, then the student would benefit from special education, then you prepare an IEP. If the parent doesn't agree with the IEP, then you stop the process. If they do agree with the IEP, then you find the appropriate placement for the student. And there's multiple kinds of placements, and your book goes over these as well, for students within special ed. The professionals need to provide the special education and related services program. So as a team, you decide on that the IEP team does. The teachers, the parents, and administrators meet annually to review the goals, and possibly a change of placement or services might happen, or you might just need to update and continue with the services as is. If every 3 years, you will go through and do another full evaluation with the permission from the parents, and then you start this process all over again, just ensuring that the student's getting what they need. This is also, like I said, it's in your book, and we'll be going over this more and more, but this pre-referral, which is the top part, is just the fact that teachers are the general ed teachers are the first stage of the decision-making process, that we, gathering data, observing, working with colleagues on interventions and whatnot, that has to happen before we just put them in special ed. So. We talked about the Yetter article. I know we didn't get to spend as much time as I had hoped on this, but you're going to be using that article and the best practices that came out of that article when you are so you did a nice job discussing and kind of highlighting a few of the best practices or beneficial ways to go about the pre-referral systems last night. Some of the ones that we talked about, actually I can make this bigger, some of the ones we talked about were, including having a team work on this, having buy-in, making the interventions feasible. All of these pieces are really important, but also everybody participating in the pre-referral team and understanding the process and the rights of students. So throughout the article, there's a lot more. For an A, I'm looking for the more. And if you have any questions, once again, you can talk to me. But next week, we're going to go over your pre-referral activity a bit more. I will have a video on that as we continue to talk about the assessments. All right, so next we talked about the article critique, and this is where I gave you and your partner, I assigned you each a journal article where you got to read through, and then I gave you this handout to kind of frame the way that you were looking at articles. Not every article had a sample. Some of them were talking about like kindergartners, and it was more broad than that. But this was just to kind of allow you to see, okay, this is research-based or evidence-based practices, and what is it that's really important? What do we need to know as teachers? So next week, you will create a PowerPoint that you'll present, and you'll give us a little bit of background just on the problem and the methodology. I'm talking a few sentences. And then what you'll focus on is probably one slide or maybe two, depending on how many words you have on the slide, about the 3 to 5 key points of the article. And then the second one is the critical thinking piece. So you demonstrate your critical thinking by connecting the information to either other published material, your experience in education, or the areas you'd like to explore further now that you've read the article. And this should include what you've said and also what your partner has said. So, and you'll be sharing that on the screen, on the Zoom screen. And then we talked about Zoom norms, make sure that you're being professional on camera and that you are ready for the technology piece. So what's next? I took off discussion 2, so I still want you to read chapter 2 from Friend and Bursick. I want you to finish your disability handout. It should be only 2 to 3 pages. I want you to write your individual final article critique. You get to talk with your partner about it, but you're going to each write your own. Remember that we have a Zoom meeting next week. I'll be on at 6:15, and then whenever you jump on at 6:30, we start class, and hopefully it'll be under an hour. This is the link for Zoom. I'm going to just click on that. Actually, I'm going to pull this together like this and then go to Zoom. And when you start the meeting, then what you'll see is there's my face. And then it asks you if you want to join by audio. You join by audio. And then now you can see that I am part of this video. And then once you guys are here, all of your lovely faces will be here. And then if you want to share your screen, you can choose what part of the screen to share. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint, and there we go. So my face is still in the corner, and then my PowerPoint's right here. I'm going to stop share, and then I'm going to end the meeting. So we will go over all of this next week, but if you have any questions or want to practice beforehand, just reach out to me and I will help you with that. Let's just go through now Blackboard and what the expectations are for this week. So, like I said, reading the chapter, finishing the disability handout. This is where you're going to turn your article critique in. All this information is also on your syllabus. These are the partners. Here's all the journal articles. And then I gave an extension for the IRIS module. Now it's due the 12th instead of due on the 5th. So hopefully that will give you some more time to get this done. Let me see if I have anything else that I wanted to go over with you. I think we're good. Oh, just the IRIS module. So here is all the questions printed out. When you click on this site, it goes through the IRIS module. And as I mentioned last night, there's 5 steps. They're also listed on this left-hand side. You click on the first slide, watch that video, hit next. And you can see that these questions match exactly with these questions here. So, and I just take you through the whole module that way. And then you'll go through next until you finish the module, including all the assessments. So once again, please call, text, email if you have any questions. I am here to support you, and I just want to help you get the most information you can. Thanks and have a great day.